Thank you for staying with us. Taking a look at your markets now. Markets in Asia ended in positive terrain. Hong Kong's Hang Seng ended flat. Mainland China's Shanghai index was 0.4% higher. Japan's Nikkei was closed due to a public holiday. And local markets, the JSE is trading higher, with the all-share index has 0.5% firmer at 84,226. When we look at our commodities, the rand is trading at 17 rands 37 to the dollar, 23 rands 11 to the pound sterling, and 19 rand 31 to the euro. Gold is trading at $2,622 an ounce, while platinum is at $956 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $74.74 a barrel. U.S. markets closed Friday's session on a mixed note. This as momentum waned following positive market reaction to the U.S. Fed's 50 basis point rate cut earlier in the week. There was also some confusion as different Federal Reserve policymakers expressed different views on inflation after the rate cut decision. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed up 0.09% at 42,063. The S&P 500 ended the session down at 5,702, while the Nasdaq Composite Index declined by 0.36%. And our market analyst for today is Carmen Belwane, an independent market analyst. Hi, Carmen, and welcome to On Point. So the rand starting off on a front foot. What's your take on the stronger currency and what that possibly means if sustained, particularly for South African consumers?
Thanks. So I think the key here is not necessarily the strength of the rand, but more importantly, the weakness in the US dollar. With the interest rate cut cycle commencing, we're likely to see that continues, specifically over the next 12 months. Adding on to that, the Fed or FOMC do meet more frequently than our SAB does meet. So they meet every 6 weeks and we meet every 2 months, which means the interest rate differential is going to continue to increase if we increase or decrease our interest rate at the 25 bips versus what the Fed did at the 50 bips. So that's definitely going to give a significant boost to the rand going forward. Adding on to that, you've also got the GNU, which has supported the rand strengthening as well. We've seen over the last 6 months that the consumer confidence has continued to rise. My belief is that the consumer is going to, while the sentiment is shifting and changing for the consumer, and if we keep continuing with the decrease in interest rates, that does provide some relief to the consumer in general in South Africa, which is likely to support the South African economy. But once again, keeping in mind that the outlook in terms of the growth for the South African economy remains muted.
Yeah. Tell me about some of the factors that you think are likely to drive global markets this week from your viewpoint.
I think if you look at the data that's expected to come out for the rest of the week, the focus is definitely going to be on the macroeconomic side. We are looking for those jobless claims numbers later in the week out of the US, number one. That'll also give an indication in terms of the strength or weakening of the US economy. We are still going to get a boost from the FOMC rate last week. And as the market digests that and determines the way forward, I think the overriding factor, not for this week, but for the short term to medium term, is going to be on that inflation in the US. That's going to be the key driver of global markets as it stands.
Yeah. Let's look at the all-share index. Do you suspect or think that it may breach the 84,000 index and stay that way for the long haul?
Yeah, I think today will remain above that 84,000. Definitely lots of tailwinds on the back of last week, specifically the commencement of the interest rate cycle in the domestic market. Sentiment continues to improve. We have seen since the negotiations and confirmation of the GNU that we've had record inflows since June this year into the equity market. So that cumulatively is definitely buoying the market. We know that there can be shocks, so we can't say whether it is sustainable, But for the moment, if we do see positive performance and the GNU actually meeting what they are promising, that's likely to provide significant support to the JSE.
Yeah. Carmen, last week was quite exciting, especially with the interest rate cut, although there were mixed reactions about whether it was sufficient. But we know that commodity prices have been depressed for quite a while. Do you think that this cut could mean something for the commodity prices and hopefully a boost for them?
Definitely. So historically, we see the trends that when we enter a monetary easing cycle, commodity prices definitely do rise. The basis of that is related to the demand for these commodities, which does improve as the sentiment improves, and that gives a lot of support to those commodity prices. I think the lower interest rate also does help in terms of inventory costing. So the cost of carrying and storing those inventories also alleviates the pressure for the resources sector. So all in all, if we continue in this trajectory of decreasing the interest rate, it definitely does. We're definitely going to see strong recovery in the commodity space.
Yeah, let me just put you on the spot here and just ask your thoughts about if you think that with the interest rate cut, you'll be likely to see, and also the two-pot withdrawals, you think that you might see retail sales, shooting the lights out in the coming months, especially for September and maybe October. What do you think?
I think, as I've mentioned, just general sentiment is that we are seeing a turnaround. We've been in a negative cycle for quite a while. So as a consumer myself, it gives you some breathing room.
Yeah.
Very interesting what you're mentioning about the two-pot system. We've seen a significant outflow out of funds and back into the economy. If anyone is doing a thesis on what the impact's going to be on the two-pot system, that'll be quite interesting. I think that it'll allow some breathing space. With the interest rate decreasing, we're also seeing the repayment in terms of debt for households coming down as well. And the expectation is that we should see at least another 25 to 50 pips over the next 12 months in South Africa, which again, I think will assist in sentiment. Yeah. And then just keeping in mind that we are going towards that December retail time as well as Black Friday, which doesn't give much boost as it is. But once again, the sentiment there is, in my opinion, is that there's definitely a tailwind and consumer confidence can continue to grow.
I hope you're gearing yourself up for a nice day tomorrow for Heritage Day. But as you do that, what can we look out for from Wednesday on? What's the interesting data that we can look out for?
Yeah, we do see in South Africa, we do have some PPI numbers coming out later in the week, something to keep an eye out on. And then, as I've mentioned, offshore, it's definitely those jobless claim numbers in the US that come out on Thursday.
Carmen Belwane, thank you so much. Do enjoy your Heritage Day tomorrow, and thank you so much for your analysis. We take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to have more news for you. Don't go away.